Hey KU football fans, welcome to a post-game edition of KU Sports Extra. I'm Benton Smith, joined by Tom Keegan.
Oh, so that's how it's going to be, huh?
Yeah.
That's how it's going to be?
Yeah.
Okay.
I learned that pregame. That's how you do it here at Memorial Stadium, I guess. Interesting game, despite the score. Ends up being 41-3. Oklahoma cruises, but a lot of interesting storylines popped up because during the pregame kind of introductions and coin toss at midfield, Baker Mayfield, Heisman Trophy candidate, and OU superstar and slash pro wrestler slash does everything, extends his hand to KU football captains Joe Deneen, Dorrance Armstrong, and Daniel Wise. They kind of just stand there with their hands behind their back.
Look at the ground.
Kind of avoid eye contact, and I think that set the stage for what was a chippy game and kind of a competitive game, at least in the first half, with the defense playing really well. So I think from that standpoint, that was kind of what the KU defense was trying to accomplish, maybe get in Mayfield's head a little bit, maybe fluster him and maybe fire him up a little bit too much. Ultimately, never going to work against a guy like that. Too good, too talented.
I'm sure they didn't think of it, but it doesn't make their coach David Beatty look good, because the fact that they felt comfortable just doing it without running it by Beatty is not the sign of that they fear consequences for their actions. So I thought, had they thought about that, maybe they wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, and it was relatively close in the first half. I think 7-3 at one point. Then Carter Stanley looks for Evan Fairs over the middle. Evan Fairs can't quite bring it in, ends up getting intercepted. And I think that was kind of an early turning point in a game where Oklahoma spent a lot of the first half, punting because the KU defense was so turned on early.
Yeah, well, it really was good, the KU defense early on, and I think it's been definitely improved the last 6 weeks. So that's what you can take out of this football-wise. I mean, eventually Oklahoma wore them down, as you knew they would, but certainly the defense is much ahead of the offense.
Yeah, third quarter opens up. Carter Stanley talked about this after the game. This was a situation where they were down 21-3, driving down the field, ended up settling for a field goal, couldn't even get that. So that was kind of the last point where you felt like it might end up being a competitive football game. But Oklahoma did Oklahoma things the rest of the way, and it kind of ended the way we probably thought it would entering this game.
And the worst play by the offense and the defense, I'll say, the worst play by KU's offense was they get down to 1st and goal at the 2, run the Wildcat, which they try to call the Jayhawk, but K-State originated, so nationally it's known as the Wildcat, where a running back takes the snap. And the snap was way over Taylor Martin's head. I don't know if Martin was in the wrong place or if it was just a bad snap from Riberty. So it's a 10-yard loss. So it goes from 1st and goal at the 2 to 2nd and goal at the 12. And that just kind of summed up the way things have been going for the offense. And obviously the worst play for the defense was by Hassan Defense when he hit Baker Mayfield late. He really threw his shoulder into him. Could have been called targeting. It wasn't. He's probably lucky it wasn't called targeting. Lucky he didn't get kicked out of the game. And Benton, I did the OU side, you did the KU side. To his credit, though, he said that was a boneheaded play.
Yeah. Hassan defense did admit that much. He didn't necessarily come out and say that he regretted doing it, but because I think that was part of KU's defensive strategy was trying to fluster Mayfield, and obviously you can't do it that way. You just
That's
can't.
15 yards.
Blatantly late. Mayfield had just completed a 30-yard pass. OU was late in the second quarter, and it was only 14-3. Oklahoma was up, and they had 50 seconds left. And they ended up getting down the field and scoring a touchdown, going to halftime up 21-3 because of that play in particular. But then Hassan defense also gets flagged for holding the very next play. So 2 really big infractions on the cornerback, and he owned up to those mistakes. Didn't without saying that he regretted hitting Mayfield.
And then how about the captains, their explanation?
Yeah, we would have liked to have heard from Dorrance Armstrong and Daniel Wise about kind of how that strategy of not shaking hands came about, but they chose not to come to media availability after the game. All of them, both of them were requested by various media members that were here covering the game. They decided not to. I think it's a first, because those guys typically are the ones that we talk to, always get requested because they're 2 of the most talented players, and they chose not to come. Joe Deneen did come, and he basically said they were headed out onto the field, and they kind of talked about it. Hey, what if we do something different to kind of stand our ground and say we're not going to roll over because it's Oklahoma. And Deneen didn't necessarily tell us whose idea it was in particular. Got the sense that it wasn't his, since he didn't say, hey, this is my idea, I pitched it to him, we decided to do it. So the origins of that whole situation kind of remain unknown. Maybe we'll find out more about it later in the week. Maybe we won't.
And Beatty's reaction?
Yeah, I asked Beatty for kind of his explanation, and he basically said, well, you can ask the players about it. So we got to ask Deneen about it and got the sense that it wasn't his idea.
Yeah, he in fact did say that he didn't know they were going to do it, didn't he, or did he?
No, he said they didn't know until they were walking out.
No, I mean the coach.
Oh, yeah. Beatty said that he didn't know that they were going to do it. So.
Yeah, Lincoln Riley, just without even being asked, addressed the whole situation of Baker Mayfield's crotch grab, and he said it was a chippy game. It started with the KU captains not shaking the hands. I've never seen anything like that before. I don't know what that was about. And he said, but still, that's no excuse for Baker Mayfield to get caught up in that and do what he did, and that he's got to be better than that. And Mayfield and Riley just came across just totally sincere, genuine, unrehearsed. He was embarrassed. At the same time, he was puzzled by what KU did. I asked him about Hassan Defense's hit. He said it was close to targeting. You know, I asked Mayfield about whether he thought that was targeting. He said, I'm going to let the Big 12 officials handle that. And Mayfield said all the right things. It sounded a little rehearsed, but hey, he said all the right things, that he's embarrassed, that there are kids watching, that it was a chippy game, but that he certainly shouldn't have done what he did. So yeah. They apologized, profusely and efficiently.
We should credit both sides just for really benefiting us with giving us stuff to write about and talk about. Because
in a 41-3
game. So shouts out to everybody who made that happen. KU's now 1-10. They've lost 10 straight. They're going to close the season next week at Oklahoma State, who happened to lose to K-State today.
Right.
So you got to think the Cowboys might be looking to blow out a KU team.
That'll be a tough game for KU.
Loses on the road.
Yeah.
So till then,